Welcome to the Brave Healing Podcast. I am Laura DeFranco, and it is my mission to build a revolution of healers who are sharing their words and messages out loud and changing the world one brave word at a time. Thank you guys so much for being here to listen in today. This is a very special episode because I have 5 of the 25 amazing authors of the new book, The Ultimate Guide to Self-Healing Techniques, here to help me with my mission today. You guys, The Ultimate Guide to Self-Healing Techniques is a collection of 25 powerful, holistic practices and tools you can use at home for peak health and wellness. You'll learn from 25 experts who are sharing their stories, passions, and transformational tools with you. You guys, most tool books concentrate on just one thing, one tool. And it was my specific goal to create a very unique collaboration here instead. And when I introduce these 5 amazing women to you, you're going to have an idea of just what kind of badassery is in this book. So listeners, in celebration of this new book, this episode is available in full video format inside a special group on Facebook for our Amazon purchasers. So if you're wanting to access to all 25 authors with special interviews, Q&A, video trainings of the tools, bonuses, giveaways, OMG, we're doing a lot. Please see the show notes for details. So now, without further ado, here to help me talk brave healing, I have 5 outstanding women. Jacqueline Kane, medical intuitive, supports women in discovering the crucial hidden links between their physical pain and their ability to live a full life. With over 30 years in healthcare, Jacqueline has merged her innate wisdom with a multitude of healing modalities to create a results-oriented method of healing. Ms. Shelly Ostrov is the author of the Knower Curriculum. With 4 decades in association with a meditation master in the Himalayas of India, she offers a unique perspective on meditation. She'll help you get grounded in self-awareness and connect with your inner guidance, the knower. Hamali Vora is the owner of HV Health and Wellness LLC and has 20 years of experience in physical therapy and energy healing. She guides you in healing chronic illnesses, pain, traumas, anxiety, depression, grief, and helps in your spiritual journey using myofascial release, Reiki, and integrative nutrition. Barbara Bustard is a teaching assistant and a teaching artist and founder of Art for Body, Mind, and Soul. She has 25 years experience in helping individuals explore their creative potential and experience the health benefits that art provides through her workshops, retreats, group and individual meditative art sessions. And lastly, Lisa Karasek is an expert quantum healer, TRE certified facilitator, and certified eating psychology coach, who is able to update her clients' states of being to assist in healing. Lisa powerfully guides her clients to a healthier, happier, and more purposeful life. And y'all are gonna find all of the websites in the show notes today. We're gonna link you up all over the place, so no worries. Welcome, ladies. Unmute and say hey.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
You guys, I'm so excited, and just so everybody knows, this is like our first Meet the Authors interview session, right? We got this idea of bringing y'all together, letting people get to know you a little bit better. The book is full of amazing people, including yourselves. So I'm going to start with Jacqueline. Jacqueline, talk to me a little bit about your tool. You know, we could have written, any one of us could have picked any one of, I don't know, a dozen tools that we love and use. Tell us about your chapter and why the tool you chose.
So I chose Ancestral Energy Clearing because so many people that come to me, they come because they've been in pain for years and even decades, and they're dealing with the same issues over and over again. They've tried many modalities and they're unable to get out of pain. And so sometimes we don't realize it, but we could be carrying the same energy that our grandparents or somebody in our ancestral line that passed it down to us. And we don't even realize it. When I started looking at this and bringing it into my practice, so many people were carrying the heaviness that all of our ancestors have been through. And it's hard to change that. It's hard to move that energy. So once we're able to do that, then they're able to stand more in their power. They're able to finally break free from the baggage and the burden that they've been carrying, not just for themselves, but they're able to free their ancestors that have been through so much trauma.
This is powerful, powerful stuff. I know that in my own life, I'm lucky enough to have my mom still alive. I have a daughter and a son, but specifically thinking about my daughter. And I always felt, since becoming a healer, healthcare person, that the healing that I took on was automatically going in both directions. And I felt that all the time with my own daughter, just in our conversations and awareness practices. But also I watched my mom, do her version of her journey, her healing. And I always felt like that was trickling to me. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So we're all energy. And when we are conceived in our mom, everything ancestrally that she's been through, her ancestors have been through, and all the unresolved issues are then ingrained in us. And we're in her for 9 months. So it becomes part of our DNA. It becomes part of our energy. Everything we do comes from that space. And of course, not just mom, but dad and everybody. So we are handing it down to our children. So it's nice once we start healing that energetically. When I pull it out of my children and heal it and transform it, I see huge breakthroughs for my children. Which is very rewarding, because as a mom, for me, myself, I can't talk for all moms, but I want to make it easier for our children. And I don't want to know that if there was something I could do to make their life easier, I want to do it. And so many moms say, I didn't realize that was also affecting my children.
Right.
So
yeah, it's so you're making me think of the story you shared in the book, and I'm not going to give that away, especially if there are a lot of people who haven't read the stories yet. But for all of the authors in this collaboration, you guys, in hearing their personal stories, you will feel the healing is palpable. That energy is palpable. And it's one of the things I love talking about in terms of this particular book, because you have 25 amazing people who chose this journey and chose to have the mindset that Jacqueline's talking about. What I do is affecting other people, and I am taking on that responsibility, not only for myself and my family, but for the world. Seriously, this is like not small potatoes here. So I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your personal story. I know that's hard to do, especially the first times you do it out loud in the world.
And this is my first time, so there was a lot of
yes.
I say that. Yeah.
Well, and you guys know, because you're here with me, that brave healer, that is where that brave piece comes from. I know how hard it is the first time to hit publish on something and realize that you've just made yourself and your story open for eyes and criticism and whatever. But I think each of us in that process has healed a little bit of whatever we needed to heal, really just literally from saying yes. So I thank all of you ladies today for saying yes to this project. It's for warriors, seriously. So I'm going to move on to Miss Lisa. Lisa, you took on consciousness, which I'm smiling because, who would be willing to take on that topic? It's so foundational for healing, though. And I want you to talk about, same question, talk about your chapter and why the tool?
Okay, so I will start then with a little bit of my story. So
I was always asking, why me? Why was everything always happening to me? My life sucked. Everything was always happening to me. Nothing ever worked. I just couldn't understand why my life was so hard. And as I started receiving healing sessions myself, and my perspective was changing, the intuitive messages that I was getting from my other professionals, from my mentors and my people, my go-to people, everybody kept saying, it's not about them, it's your distortion. And I needed to change my perspective. I was unhappy because of the way I was allowing myself to feel. I was allowing things to happen to me. And it took me years to wrap my brain around that. I really thought that I felt crappy all the time because people made me feel crappy. And I had to take responsibility for my own feelings and actions and reactions. I was very reactive in the world, and I had to change that way. And then I started taking classes on learning my healing modalities, learning how to be an intuitive practitioner, learning, how to be in this industry, if you want to call it that. And I started doing exercises like soul retrieval, destiny retrieval, and things like that. And it wasn't until it all kind of came together, and I literally in my mind's eye would see how soul retrieval would work and how destiny retrieval works. And in the book, I use the analogy, the broken glass. And in my mind's eye, that is really literally what it seems like. So for every piece of glass, for every shard of glass that's broken, it's a piece of your soul that has been projected away from you. You are giving yourself pieces, you are giving pieces of yourself away when you allow people to make you feel a certain way. And then, as Jacqueline said, some of them aren't even yours. They're ancestral hand-me-downs. They're, lifetime, things that come into us. And so we have to learn to discern what's ours and what isn't ours, what belief systems of ours belong to us and which don't. So for me, consciousness has been my whole path on this journey for healing myself. It's what I really had to come into. And so for me, I found it very exciting to write about in the way that I did. Thank you.
It's such a big topic, but it is also such a huge opportunity for, I call it freedom in your life, to really sort of grasp what it even means to be conscious in the moments that you're living. It made me think of something. So one of the books that I read in the very beginning of my journey was A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Tolle, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. And Lisa, I wonder if you had a book that you originally read or some inspiration in the beginning of your journey that sort of sparked that consciousness conversation inside of you.
I can never remember his first name. I always just say Dr. Emoto, The Secret Life of Water. And I know that probably isn't the answer you're expecting.
Oh,
but
I didn't expect anything. I was just curious. Everyone on things, right?
Right. But seeing how our thoughts and the way we interact with the world and the world around us and other life and beings and what we're made of, and it could be beautiful or it could be decrepit, again, it's that, for me, it was that mindset of things happening to me or for me. And the visual, I'm a very visual learner, and excuse me, the pictures in his book just really opened my eyes, opened my mind to perceiving reality.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for taking on that topic in the book in general. And, wait till you guys, hear the full stories and you experience the practical teaching of the tool itself. Everybody here has done that for you in the book, which I think is that's one of the most magical things about the book, is that there's never just one way to feel better. And early on in my journey, I had teachers, guru kinds of teachers, and they would talk about, that way being the way, right? And that never felt good to me. Kind of like religion. There's no one way to talk about God. There are a lot of religions in the world. There are a lot of languages in the world, right? So there's a lot of ways for people to heal. And that's what I love the most about the book is everybody being able to come together and in agreement of that and offer their version, which you guys can feel the possibility in others that come upon your message, right? They may read something and just be like, whoa, okay, I never heard of this before. The hope is what happens in that moment. And so thank you all for being part of that. That's like badass, you guys. So Miss Hamali, are you ready? I want to hear about your chapter, which is about mindful eating. And again, you teach a lot of different things. You're a physical therapist. Why this topic?
I think it's a very important, mindful eating or just nutrition is so important. There's so much information out there in terms of diet and people counting calories and things that we kind of get lost in that, whether protein, just eating protein is better, taking out carb and all that. So personally in my life, as I was working specifically in nursing homes or hospitals, I keep seeing, you see recurrent, strokes or recurrent heart attacks and people coming in again and again for the same reason. Also people coming in for total hip, total knee, all these surgeries, but they're so obese that no matter what you do, within a few years, they're back with that same pain and same struggle. And all they hear is, and, I hear this from my patient all the time, like, okay, the doctor, I know I need to lose weight. The doctor told me to lose weight, but there is no guidance. There is no follow-up, or there is no just to show them how to do it. And I think in my personal life, just looking at patients and things, both my kids had or have severe asthma. And we, just constantly taking what the doctors told us. I was giving my kids Zyrtec, for instance, every single day, year in 365 days for I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And, some of these medication, you're not supposed to take them more than 2 weeks, more than 3 weeks, but you're not told that. So I had to do something, and I decided to, just for my kids, I decided to take on a journey into holistic nutrition. And so really what I learned was, while I was in school, I started making many changes. I started reading labels, and it was horrifying to see so many things. I mean, one product would have, one of my friend had showed me a juice box, a kid's juice box, even though it's organic, it had, it was an apple juice, and it said an ingredient, it came from 6 different countries. So I don't know how that comes about,
Wow.
how it happened. So just reading, and then I had one of my kids friend come in, and she was allergic to yellow color or dye, and she's like, "Oh, I can't have pickle." And to me, I'm like, pickle has color in it, and then you read it, and it has yellow dye. So some of these things that really, I started becoming aware of it, and so I think the main important thing is to. And then once we create that lack of, when we decide that, oh, I'm going to lose weight, and we decide to eliminate things, And that's when we start craving things, right? And that's when it's hard for you. It's just psychological, when you just keep thinking about it, what you're not supposed to have. So really adding in things. So, focusing on what you're going to add into your food. And once you start adding in good alkaline food, good vegetables, more vegetables and fruits and things, the other things kind of just fade away. And when I started seeing changes in our household, that's when I decided that I can't keep this to myself. I had to share it with the world. And I was the biggest proponent as a physical therapist. Oh, you exercise and lose weight, exercise. And but I think nutrition has so much more impact and bigger value in changing just, in our focus and our clarity, and no matter what you do, and especially when you're doing spiritual work, I've felt that, for me, I needed grounding food that were soul food that would make me happy while I'm struggling through all these clearing of all these toxic emotional traumas from childhood and things like that. So
that's an incredibly holistic way to look at the where you're bringing the two worlds together. I love that. And I wanted to also just say thank you for sharing the personal story from your life. Is going to have a lot of people nodding their head in terms of what they've been doing with their kids, their own nutrition. And it's not, and I know you believe this too, it's not to make people feel bad. It's just to kind of wake them up to the possibility of health if they make shifts and changes, because obviously we all learned our nutrition from wherever we learned it from, right? So, so thank you again for tackling a huge topic. And you guys are gonna really love the way that Hamali brings you into the scene of her story and how she got inspired to write about this. Okay, I wanna talk to Miss Barbara next. So, okay, you took on a chapter of this book that some people would be like, art? Like, what does that have to do with like my self-healing? So tell us.
Okay, that's true. And art scares a lot of people.
Yes.
They feel like, I can't do this. They may have had an art teacher that years ago would say, oh, that's terrible. You didn't get this right. You didn't get that right. You can't. And for myself, art has always been a safe place and a refuge. And it's so people don't realize that just the effect that color can have on you. Color, each of our major energy sources, which are the chakras, react to a different color, and each of those chakras affects a different organ in your body. And I noticed particularly when I didn't really come into myself till I was in my late 30s to 40, but I have to be surrounded in color, as you can see behind me. There's and my clothes. I love to express myself in my clothes, and I make a lot of things, and I will dye the fabric or paint all over it and then make an outfit out of it. And I would wear these. And I had a friend one time who said, you know, you don't get dressed in the morning, you put on a costume. Now, she didn't mean a costume like Halloween. She meant you like really put something together. Well, for me, I'm just putting on my clothes because they all look like that, right? But when I was out, people would actually stop and say, oh, I love your outfit. You just made my day. And I'm like, that's the effect of color and creativity. It just even the color raised their dopamine level or something to make them feel really good. And that's also what art does. And it doesn't have to be realism. It doesn't have to be like the masters with perspective and light and depth and following all the rules, the elements and principles of art. it's just expressing yourself, going to a place where your mind just totally relaxes and you just are free to express yourself without words. Sometimes you can't find the words. When things happen, I always say, with sighs too deep for words. I have no words. But that's when I get out the paint, or I get out the clay, or I get out whatever. I know on 9/11, I spent the day, I mean, there were no words. And I said, I have to do something to put something out as a prayer. So I gathered the paints and I went out on my front porch, and over I had big double window with the lintel or whatever over the big, everything's a palette to me. So that space this wide over a window, that's going to get something on it. I painted all over that with flowers. I painted my screen door full of flowers in bright colors. I painted above the door, I made vines into letters, and it said in memoriam with the date. And over the window, it said, God will wipe away all our tears. And I just had to do something. I couldn't express the pain. So that's what art can do. It can give you that space. And it can also be used for celebration. When I'm like super happy and I want to commemorate something, I'll create art. When I'm trying to discern something, like a major life event, that's when I meditate and I let the art come through me, and it's a spiritual experience. And mainly, I mean, I teach art. I teach the regular kind of art. I teach homeschoolers, I teach preschoolers, I teach private lessons, and I do that because obviously that's good to learn and you need that. And some people want to focus on, a career in art, but I also want people to know that you don't have to do that, and that art is spiritual and it's healing and it's meditative and it's joyful. And so I really strive to just get people to be creative and do it just for the joy of creating. It doesn't have to be a picture. It can just be paints thrown on something. But just the act of doing that and the effect of the color, seeing the color really helps you. So people that are sick, it helps their healing process because it gives them positive thoughts. It gives them an escape from thinking about what's wrong. It helps older people with memory. Art is just so healing. So I had to put that out there to people.
I love hearing you talk about it. It's making me think of so many different things all at once. So you started saying something about the chakras. And if you guys know about the energy centers in the body, the chakras each has a color associated. And I'll never forget when I learned about the relation to the organ, which is what you mentioned. And also in Hamali's world, she knows the relation to food colors. So like if you wanted to nourish a chakra or an organ, then you could, understand this system. But the other thing that came to my mind while you were talking is, early in my life, my sister got the art card. And so I didn't, evidently, right? And so like that shut me down so fast, so soon for art. And so it was much later as an adult woman, I met an artist and we had a relationship online, and she was amazing. And I was always like, oh, I love what you're doing. Please make me this, make me that. So finally she got annoyed enough. She messaged me on Facebook one day. She's like, listen, there's this art class and you need to go make your own art. And, so that art became, sort of my very first attempt at anything. And it became the front cover of one of my very first poetry books. And I was so proud of a lot of things about that, but it just made me realize all the different things you are saying, how incredibly healing it was to just give it a try, and the colors and what I was just really digging about the process, right? So I appreciate you tackling this subject. So what would you say to the person like my younger self? Oh my God, I'm not an artist. I'll never be an artist. Well, what's your brief response to inspire them?
You are a creation. So how can you not be creative?
Yeah, it's I think
Everyone has it in them. You just have to let it come out. Get rid of all the you're not, the negativity, because that doesn't matter. If you just picked up a brush and put a red stripe on paper, you created something. You made art.
I love it. I am also somebody who says, you know, everyone's an artist and everyone is a writer and everyone is a singer and everyone, right? But we get taught from a very young age that we are this or that. So again, thanks for being one of the people who inspire others to give it a try, right? Even later in their lives.
Thank you.
Last but not least, Miss Shelly, we're going to have a talk about meditation now, you guys. So the joke for me in my world over this topic was I didn't want to say the M word out loud because I knew I'd be scaring people, right? And they would think that I meant sitting on a pillow for an hour with my fingers in a particular position, legs crossed, oming or whatever, right? So I wrote a book. Again, another book that was an influencing book in my healing journey called True Meditation by Adyashanti. And Shelly and I have never had that conversation, so I'm not sure what she thinks about him or what he does. But Shelly, again, thank you for taking on a pretty big ass topic. Like, why meditation for you? Tell us about this tool and this chapter that you wrote. Oh, there she is.
I lost you. Okay.
We got you back.
Could you just repeat the last part of what you said? I winked out for a minute on my computer.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about meditation, about why this tool for you. Just give us a little bit of your story.
Oh, all right. My husband was very interested in meditation, and I was reluctant. And he saw a sign at university that said, "Improve your marks." So he went, and he actually did really well. And then he became involved with the meditation group, and I was still quite reluctant. But for me, when I went, it was actually something inside I had opened up that I didn't even know was there inside of me. And I remember listening to my teacher speaking, and it was as if they were words that were from beyond, like they spoke to me, and it was the absolute undeniable truth. And it took many, many years for me to practice meditation and study the mind, because meditation is just that tool that helps you come to know who you really are in full. And when you study your mind, you come to know that your mind is always changing. So whatever happens in your life, your mind is always receiving everything from the senses. And it's receiving everything from friends and people and everything that's around you. But when you close your eyes in meditation, if you watch the mind, then what you're watching with, that watcher is unchanging. And that's the part of you that's forever. It's immortal. It is eternal. And that's who you really are. But you need that tool of the mind to function and to work in the world. But as you come to know, to get the power from your knower inside of you, your mind becomes clearer. And then what you're seeing is as it is. You're not always colored by the opinion, because every single mind has an opinion, and every opinion believes that it's right. And if you know that about yourself and who you're speaking to, then the place where you can always agree is that you know who's watching the mind, because who's watching all the changes is that knower of who you are, and that will never change. And that will help through your life, just to know how to navigate your world.
I was listening to you, and the line, the place where you can always agree. That's a book title. And it's total a miracle that we are getting this good of reception today with you in India, talking about meditation. Somebody's looking over us today. So I don't know if you heard what I said about Adyashanti. That was I think the place that you missed. That book that he wrote taught me that meditation wasn't something I had to sit on a pillow to do. He taught me that no matter what I was doing in my life, washing the dishes, driving the car down the road, making art, reading a book, whatever, talking to somebody, that I could be present in a form of meditation that would serve what you're talking about. So had you heard of him?
I haven't.
Oh, you haven't. I love it. That's even better, right? I consider all of us right here in this call today to be the teachers of the world, whatever you want to call us, the next generation of healer influencers, the next generation of people stepping up and taking responsibility for talking about these subjects, right? So it always tickles me, because this is something that happens in my mind. Speaking of watching your own mind, you look out at other people and what they're doing and assume they're famous or they're this or they're that. And then you talk about somebody and you have a friend, and the friend is like, I don't know who that is. And you're like, yes, there's hope for me too, right? It always cracks me up about that topic. So, Shelly, you particularly work with children. When and how did you choose to do that?
I started off as a teacher, and then I went back to school and went into the master's program. And I remember I wanted to resign just because I just needed some financial assistance. And I wrote to my teacher in India, and there was no internet or anything in those days. And somehow, whenever he got the letter, I had quit on a Friday afternoon, and I got a telegram saying that a perfectionist finishes the task only for knowing that he's perfect and no gain. Thus, continue studies and finish. And I remember I went back on Monday morning, and it was a kind of a divine intervention, you could say, because the secretary said, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here." And then we looked at each other, and I thought, she never called me, and I have an appointment with the dean. And so I ended up being a teaching assistant, a research assistant, and a full professor in that. And I was always guided to bring meditation to children. And I actually had even done it in the classes that I taught when I was a teacher in elementary school, because I knew that there's that when a child aligns their energy especially at a young age, they become very focused, and they start to understand that their energy of their body and their mind can actually be handled by themselves. And the thing that I've always heard is that you don't have to give anything up. You just have to add meditation, and that will improve your whole life. And I have to say that in all the teachings that I've done with children, their marks improved, their energy improved, their habits improved, because they were getting in touch with that knower or that watcher, that they could see what they were doing, as opposed to you having to put your thumb on them, because they were coming to know more about who they were. And when you come from that they're not, there's certain behaviors that you don't want them to get hurt. You don't want them to get into a certain type of trouble that would harm them. But if they're allowed to explore the freedom, they actually come to know for themselves, and they grow up inside themselves in a very, very powerful and strong way. And I've just seen that over and over again. So I think that,
what an incredible gift. Can you guys imagine having that gift very early in your life? Like I know for me, the journey was much later. I was well into my adulthood, but what a powerful gift you're giving the world, seriously, to work with kids at that age. And I have vowed, when I finally did wake up to that power, or really the opportunity to teach my kids, right? So I took opportunities, and I would sit with them and talk to them about intuition and what it even means to meditate. You know, they weren't getting it in school, that's for sure. So thank you, Shelly, for talking about, again, another big subject. I appreciate your presence in this project very much.
thank you.
Okay, gals, we're going to go for the speed dating version answers to the next question. Okay, you ready? So, Lisa, what is the very best thing about being a healer? 2 sentences.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I love helping people find clarity like spiritual or energetic or personal development growth, seeing change for the more positive, for being happy, for finding joy, for letting go of the crap.
Perfect. Jacqueline, answer the same question. What's your favorite part about being a healer?
Helping women heal their past so that they can trust their intuition, so that they can manifest faster and easier everything that they want to create their desired life.
Awesome. Barbara, what's your answer?
I love the joy on people's faces after they make something when they thought they couldn't.
I love it. Molly.
I think seeing people, or joy on the clients' faces, and actually healing their traumas and living a lot pain-free life, or changing their perspective. I think that's my biggest thing, living more aware and awake in life.
Awesome. Shelly, favorite part?
I feel my favorite part is that when someone I know is suffering, when they feel better, I feel better. So it's that one space that we connect in. And
I love it. Y'all are describing a feeling is what you're doing. And so I didn't know what would happen if I asked every single one of you. I had an idea that, the answers would be very similar, and they are, and they aren't, but they are. And it's because we're trying to describe the feeling, right, of fulfillment and our own healing, because it is a two-way road. And I think that's my favorite part about choosing a very difficult journey, some days impossible, to walk the walk of being somebody who practices that kind of awareness every day. Again, I always say it, I say it for a reason. It is for warriors. It's for people who have really taken that responsibility. But the beauty of that is it's a two-way road, and you receive as much as you give, right? And we had to learn to receive on the journey for sure. I know I did. Okay, second speed dating question for you all. I'm gonna start with Shelly. Shelly, when you think about the word holistic, and we are using it in our book often, what's important about that word in terms of healing?
That you don't forget any aspect of the child, of the adult, of anyone, that absolutely everything about that person is important and valuable.
Awesome. Jacqueline. Unmute yourself.
That we value the shitty part of ourselves and the light part of ourselves. We can accept all of ourselves and be that person authentically each and every day.
I love it. Thank you. Hamali.
For me, I feel that you include everything, your whole body, your mind, emotion, your muscles, your organs, and and you bring everything together. And same as Jacqueline said, bringing in that, sorry, I'm losing a little, but the whole person.
I got you. I love it. And it is. And so I love asking the question because sometimes it's hard to describe it, right? Yes. So thank you. Barbara, how would you put the importance on the word holistic in terms of healing?
Not just healing the physical ailments of the body, but the mind, the emotions, and the spiritual.
Nice. Lisa?
The whole person, WHOLE, the whole person, and who we are as a soul. And your soul is made up of many different bodies. We have our etheric body, our spiritual body, our emotional body, our mental body, our physical body, on and on. And you pull them all together, and that's your authentic self. And weeding out what does not belong to you so that you're able to step into your authentic self and be free. That's important. That's what we're all searching for.
I like the term authentic when it comes to healing too, and I've gotten in the habit of using holistic and authentic. And in my journey, I talk about holistic in two ways. The first way, for the body, being a physical therapist, it was about teaching people that there is a whole body system that we look at when we look at your physical injury. That if you come in with an ankle sprain, if I'm not looking at the entire system of fascia, and we have 3 amazing authors who are going to tackle my fascial release, but if we weren't looking at your neck, then we're doing you a disservice, even though you came in with ankle pain. And so that's what Hamali was talking about too, whole body. There's a system, a 3-dimensional system of connective tissue. And I hated when I would hear stories about people going to the doctor or a therapist and being piece parted, like being, they hand the PT a prescription for ankle pain, and the PT evaluates the ankle, maybe the knee if they're lucky that day, but doesn't take the entire body into consideration, right? So that's one way I talk about holistic. And then the other is what you all are describing, and that is a mind, body, soul holistic. So I also learned very early on that if my client was coming in for physical therapy for whatever pain or ache or ailment, if I didn't also really listen to what was happening in their life, in their stress levels, that they lost a job, that they lost a family member, that they were having anxiety for whatever reason, if I wasn't listening to the other pieces of that puzzle, then I was missing the boat big time, because those pieces, every emotion has that physiological effect in the physical body. And so if I was just paying attention to that ankle and I didn't really know, you know, what was going on in their life, I could be missing something big. So those are the two different ways that I think about and I explain holistic. Okay, I've got one more, and I hope y'all are enjoying getting to know these authors better. Actually, we are getting to know each other better even in these discussions, which I absolutely love. When you run a book project with 25 people, it's like, whoa, this is the best, you guys. Thank you for being here. And I hope the listeners are enjoying it too, and it inspires them to come and connect with you after they read your stories. So y'all are going to be hooked up in the show notes today and in our special group. For those of you who have not purchased the book yet, you're going to have access to all of these authors and the rest of them as well for some special training and Q&A in that group. So you can read about that. But I want to ask you kind of a last wrap-up question. And again, we'll do the speed dating version of this, which I realize that every question I ask you guys could be an entire book response. I really do get that. But if you had to briefly talk about who specifically you work with and what that problem, you know, you have solved it in the past for other people, for other clients, you've watched the transformation in front of you, right? Who is that person you're serving? And this is it's kind of a business coaching question too for everybody who wants to hear it this way. We all really work on expressing our messages in a way that, you know, I am for you in terms of what I do in my business, right? So now I'm giving you all a chance. Don't be nervous. Talk to me, Jacqueline, about who exactly you serve. And this needs to be speed dating version. Go for it.
The woman who has been in chronic pain and feels exhausted and hasn't gotten to the root cause. Also, the woman who really wants to stand in her power so that her doctor hears her.
Awesome. Ooh, I like that last piece. Shelly, talk to me about who you serve.
Parents and teachers of young children who just want to open the minds and hearts of the children and go on that journey with them through their stories, through their whole being, and open their minds to all possibilities, because actually meditation makes you smarter.
Nice. Yeah, I think that needs to be your tagline. I love that. Barbara, talk to me about who you're serving, who you're teaching.
I actually serve from preschoolers to 90-year-olds. I have all, and it's because the art is so important to grow with and then have that as a tool. But particularly if it's in someone, you know, who didn't have it from young, anyone who is having issues with, it could be grief, it could be stress, it could be making a decision, anyone who needs a little escape from the constant thinking and worrying, to let your mind free up so that you actually can get clarity.
I love it. Thank you. Lisa.
Well, my mission is to help those struggling overcome that which is not necessary. So anyone who is standing around saying, why me, you know, and feels any sort of struggle or misalignment anywhere, anything that's rubbing them wrong, anything that's making them question, anything that's giving them grief, and they're ready to explore and change that question from why me to I can do this. I want to be happy. I'm ready.
Love it. Thank you. Hamali, last but not least, who are you serving?
I serve anyone that is ready to transition from unhealthy lifestyle to a better lifestyle in terms of nutrition, or are ready to embark on their spiritual journey. Yeah.
Nice. Good job. Good job speed dating answers, you guys. I love it. And thank you one more time for being here and sharing yourselves with our listeners. Listeners, thank you so much for being here, for being part of the Brave Healer Revolution. You're going to find everything Brave Healer at bravehealer.com. There's a special group for the book. So pop into the show notes and we'll have the link for you to purchase and instructions about getting into that very unique and special Facebook group where you're going to have access to all 25 healer experts. Y'all, I feel so proud to be able to even say that sentence. It's amazing. A lot of opportunity to meet some fantastic and powerful, powerful people in this world. Lastly today, everybody, I want you to remember that you were born, so you are worthy. Your message matters. What if the thing you're still a little afraid to share is exactly the thing someone needs to hear to change or even save their life? It is time to be brave.